What if I told you that one country doesn't just influence the global economy, it controls the rules of the game itself?
Or is the
From the
world
money you
slowly
earn,
changing?
to the price of oil, to the rise and fall of entire nations, the United States economy sits at the center of it all. But how did it become so powerful? And more importantly, can that dominance last? Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful forces shaping our world, the supremacy of the U.S. economy. Whether you live in Asia, Europe, or Africa, decisions made in Washington and New York can directly impact your life. Stock markets crash, currencies rise and fall, inflation spreads across borders, and somehow, the United States always seems to remain at the top. In this video, we'll uncover the real reasons behind America's dominance. We'll explore its history, the global power of the dollar, its technological leadership, and the hidden systems that keep the world dependent on it. But we'll also ask a critical question: is this dominance permanent, or is the world slowly changing? Let's find out. To understand America's power, we have to go back to a world in ruins. In 1945, the Second World War ended. Europe was devastated, factories destroyed, cities reduced to rubble, economies shattered. But across the Atlantic, the United States stood stronger than ever. Its industries were booming, its factories were producing at unmatched scale, its gold reserves were enormous. And for the first time in modern history, one nation held overwhelming economic power. Then came a turning point. In 1944, leaders from dozens of nations met at the Bretton Woods Conference and created a new global financial system. The U.S. dollar became the foundation. Currencies around the world were linked to it, and the dollar itself was backed by gold. This changed everything, because from that moment on, America didn't just participate in the world economy, it became the center of it. And then came oil, the single most important resource powering modern civilization. Everything depends on energy, and global oil trade became overwhelmingly priced in U.S. dollars. Think about what that means. If a country wants oil, it needs dollars. If it needs dollars, it must hold dollars. That created massive demand for the dollar year after year, decade after decade. But money alone isn't why America dominates. Innovation is. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, these companies shape the digital world. Artificial intelligence, advanced chips, space technology, the United States leads many of these fields. But there's another layer. Debt. Trillions of dollars. Yet the world still trusts U.S. financial systems. Countries buy U.S. bonds. Banks hold dollars. Investors run to American markets in crisis. Even fear strengthens the system. That is economic gravity. But nothing stays permanent. China is rising. New alliances are forming. Countries are exploring alternatives. The global system is shifting slowly. The world is asking, what happens if America is no longer the center? Would markets stay stable? Would trade remain the same? Or would everything change? For now, the United States still leads. But history has one rule: power always moves. And the next chapter. To understand this dominance, we need to go back in time. Before the 20th century, global power was controlled by European empires. The British Empire ruled vast territories across continents. France built powerful colonial networks. Spain and Portugal once dominated sea routes and trade, and for centuries wealth, commerce, and influence were centered in Europe. But everything changed after World War II. While Europe was devastated, the United States emerged stronger than ever. Its industries were intact. Its factories were running at full capacity. Its infrastructure remained strong. And while much of the world struggled to rebuild, America was ready to lead. Its production capacity was unmatched. Steel, machinery, automobiles, technology, food supply. The United States was producing at a scale the world had never seen before. And most importantly, it became the world's largest creditor. The U.S. didn't just rebuild itself, it rebuilt the world. Through massive financial support, it helped rebuild Europe. Through investment, trade, and long-term economic planning, it helped restart global growth. Factories reopened, roads were rebuilt, ports became active again, businesses recovered, trade expanded. But this wasn't just generosity, it was strategy. By helping rebuild nations, America also built influence. Countries that recovered through American-backed systems naturally became tied to American markets, American finance, and American leadership. Now let's talk about the real engine of its power, the U.S. dollar. Today, the dollar isn't just a currency, it is the world's reserve system. Central banks hold dollars. International trade uses dollars. Global loans are issued in dollars. Commodities are priced in dollars. And most importantly, oil, the fuel of modern civilization. To understand this dominance, we need to go back in time. Before the 20th century, global power was controlled by European empires. Britain, France, Germany, each competing for colonies, resources, and influence. For centuries, power meant territory. The more land you controlled, the stronger you were. But everything changed. After World War II, by the end of the war, Europe was in ruins. Cities were destroyed. Economies collapsed. Millions were displaced. Entire nations were rebuilding from zero. But across the Atlantic, the United States stood in a very different position. While Europe was devastated, the United States emerged stronger than ever. Its industries were intact. Its factories were operating at full capacity. Its infrastructure remained untouched by direct destruction. And most importantly, it became the world's largest creditor. The U.S. didn't just rebuild itself, it rebuilt the world. Through massive financial support, like the Marshall Plan, it helped restore Europe. Factories restarted, trade revived, economies stabilized, governments regained control. But this wasn't just generosity, it was strategy. Because rebuilding allies also meant shaping influence, and influence became the new form of global power. Now let's talk about the real engine behind that power, the U.S. dollar. After World War II, a historic agreement reshaped global finance. Currencies were tied to the U.S. dollar and the dollar was tied to gold. This created a system of trust, where the dollar became the foundation of global trade. Oil, gold, international trade, and global loans all began moving through dollar settlements. And even when the gold standard ended in the 1970s, something unexpected happened. The dollar didn't collapse, it strengthened. Because global trust had already been deeply established. Then came another turning point: globalization. The world became more connected than ever before in human history. Goods moved across continents. Companies expanded internationally. Supply chains stretched across the globe. And in this system, the United States became the central hub. American corporations grew into global giants. Hollywood shaped global culture and entertainment. Wall Street influenced international finance, and Silicon Valley transformed technology and communication. The world didn't just trade with America, it began operating through systems built in America. But there was another pillar of power: military influence. The United States built one of the most extensive military networks in history. Through alliances like NATO and strategic bases across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, its presence became truly global, not just economically, but strategically and politically. However, no system remains unchanged forever. and no dominance lasts permanently. In the 21st century, new forces began to rise. One of the most important shifts was China. From a developing economy, it transformed into a global manufacturing powerhouse. Exports increased massively. Infrastructure expanded rapidly. Technology advanced at record speed. At the same time, other regions also began rising. India, Brazil, Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa all started gaining economic and strategic importance. Global power slowly began to spread outward. Now let's return to the dollar again. Even today, the US dollar remains the world's primary reserve currency. Most global trade is still priced in dollars. Oil markets still rely heavily on it, and central banks around the world still hold it as their safest reserve asset. But beneath this stability, a quiet shift is happening. Some countries are exploring alternative currencies, regional trade systems are expanding, and digital financial technologies are challenging traditional structures. Not replacing the dollar yet, but slowly reducing global dependence on it. Another pressure point is debt. The United States carries one of the largest national debts in modern history. Yet despite this, global investors continue to trust its system. Why? Because trust is built not only on numbers, but on stability, influence, and historical reliability. But trust in global systems is never guaranteed forever. It evolves with time, performance, and global perception. Now let's talk about something even more powerful today: technology. In the modern era, power is no longer defined only by military strength or economic size. It is defined by data, innovation, and intelligence. Artificial intelligence, semiconductor chips, space exploration, digital platforms. These are the new foundations of global influence. And here, the United States still holds a strong position. Silicon Valley continues to lead global innovation. American tech companies dominate software, cloud systems, and AI development. Research institutions continue producing world-leading advancements. But competition is increasing rapidly. Other nations are investing heavily in technology, trying to close the gap faster than ever before. So what does all of this mean? The world is no longer unipolar. It is moving toward a multipolar structure where power is distributed among several major centers. The United States remains single power, but it is no longer alone at the top. And history shows us a pattern. Power does not collapse suddenly. It shifts gradually. First in economics, then in technology, then in influence, and finally in leadership. So the real question is the United States still fully in control, or are we witnessing the early formation of a new global order? The answer is not simple. Because while new powers are rising, the system built by the United States is still deeply embedded in global economics, finance, and politics. The dollar remains dominant. Global institutions still function under its influence. Alliances remain strong, and markets still react to its decisions first. But at the same time, the balance is slowly shifting. We are entering an era where global power is more distributed, where no single country can fully control the system alone, where competition, cooperation,